Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. So, politics in the UK is in a pretty grim place, and there's evidence that more people are disconnecting from it in order to preserve their sanity. But then that leaves you in the dark. So, is there a way of being able to stay connected to what's going on without sacrificing your mental health and risking being found one day rocking the corner, biting the heads off jelly babies? Yes, there is. In fact, there are 5 scientifically grounded ways to wander through the cesspit, which is politics, whilst being shielded from the filth. But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So a long one, this one, but it'll be worth it, I promise. Politics has always been a bit grubby, by the way. It's not new, but these days it's really very aggressively toxic. And this toxic environment is being deliberately cultivated by some in order to concentrate their own talking points by actively removing those with opposing views from the debate. How many times are you seeing when you try and start a debate on social media, a load of people just dogpile on because they're not interested in debate, they want you gone, right? More reasonable people, the more that leave the political arena to preserve their mental health and sense of humanity, the more toxic that arena becomes, because a greater proportion of those who are left are the rage monkeys whose over-the-top tribalism just wants to burn the world so they can rule the ashes. Now, I will point out before we go over how science can protect you from this, things aren't actually as bad as you think, particularly in the UK. I mean, people are right to be concerned, but not despondent. America, a bit different. I still don't think our American friends are completely screwed. Things are worse than they really are if you look at the news. But you are in pretty bad shape, guys. But in the UK, remember, the impression you get in the news is not a true reflection of facts on the ground. Doom, gloom and outrage are what gets eyeballs on both social media and mainstream media, which means if you're trying to get your sense of politics from the media, you are getting a warped view. You're getting a view that's actually much worse than reality. In fact, browsing the news this morning, the only article I came across which offered any levity at all was about a football game reported by Adrian Charles, who's not a football reporter, by the way, which revolved around a kestrel dropping half a dead pigeon onto the pitch. Such is the state of news today. This was actually an uplifting tale, bringing a rare smile to the proceedings. But despite the fact that there are good news stories which just don't get reported on, being plugged into politics can still be a dispiriting affair. So here are 5 scientifically formulated ways to keep yourself informed without disappearing into the pit of despair. So, short preview just to set the scene. So the American Psychological Association found that a staggering 66% of adults in America say politics stresses them out daily. A full 1 in 5 losers sleep over it. Now you think about that, that's 2/3 of Americans walking around with this low-grade hum of political anxiety. And for many, it's actively messing with their rest and therefore their health and their lives. That's a public health crisis right in your pocket. And although I haven't seen a similar report in the UK, we do seem to have similar issues. And I will point out, this research was from last year, so that's before Trump won. So it might actually be more in line with the UK now rather than America now. But here's the really good news. You don't need to pack up and move off the grid or delete every app off your phone. You just need 5 tiny manageable habits that will fit seamlessly into your normal everyday life. And they're really quite simple. They're effective, provably, and they're designed to help you stay sane in a chaotic world. So step 1 is pick a news window. Now, let's be honest, your brain evolved to scan for saber-toothed tigers, not infinitely scrolling through a feed of endless outrage. We didn't evolve to be constantly stressed. When headlines, alerts, hot takes are pinging you all day long, your nervous system gets stuck in a perpetual state of fight or flight, as we discussed in yesterday's video on racism. This constant vigilance isn't just mentally exhausting, it floods your body with hormones like cortisol, which over time lead to serious health issues. It makes you irritable, anxious, can make it hard to concentrate on other things that actually are important in your life. So here's what you do. You choose a window, a dedicated window for consuming political news. It might be half an hour, for example. It might be an hour. You know, it could be, just as an example, you pick 6:30 till 7 while you're doing something. You might be preparing dinner or something, or first thing in the morning, whatever works for you. If you think you can manage a longer window, that's fine. It needs to be based around what lets you stay informed without staying in the toxic environment longer than you're comfortable with. And here's the crucial part. Set a timer for it. Decide when that window is and set it. Seriously, when the buzzer rings, then you shut off those apps. The phone goes onto airplane mode, whatever you want to do, right? Move on to something else. It needs to be disciplined to work. Researchers call it stimulus control. That's science, that is. And it's incredibly powerful. Studies show that intentionally limiting your exposure to news, especially before bed, significantly drops your cortisol levels within as short a time as a week. You will actually feel better within a week. That's science. That means no window shopping doom while you're standing in the queue at your supermarket. No quick peek at Twitter. Yes, it's still called Twitter. While you're waiting for the lift or anything. That's the rule. It's about being intentional, not reactive. And you might think, oh, but I might miss the news. No, you won't. Because if you're going to shut yourself off from the news all day, why not just limit it to an hour? You're not going to miss anything really urgent, are you? You just catch it. Does it matter if you catch up with it later? Ask yourself, has any headline in the last year really required you to drop everything and act within like the next hour? Like, would it really matter if you didn't find out this really big news for like 8 hours or something? For most of us, the answer is, well, no, there's never been a time when that happened. And I report on this stuff, right? Trust me, if something genuinely catastrophic happens, someone will tell you. This isn't about being uninformed. It's about being strategically informed. Protecting your peace, distinguishing between being aware and being overwhelmed. Step 2, and this will help with step 1, micro-mindfulness. You know, you don't need to learn meditation to find your calm. It is useful. I find it really good. You actually just need 60 seconds, right where you are, whenever you are, at work, at home, on the toilet. On the toilet works really well. This step is all about harnessing the incredible power of your breath, right? You try the exercise. So what you do is you exhale slowly. You know, if you're trying to fog up a mirror, imagine trying to fog up a mirror or a window in the bathroom. Do that. Don't need a mirror. Just do the action. Just let all the air out. Then you inhale very deeply, just through your nose, mouth closed, for a count of like 4. Then you hold the breath for like 1 second. Then exhale more slowly for like a count of 6. And you keep repeating this cycle just 10 times. Breathing in for 4 seconds, hold it for a second, breathe out for 6 seconds. And that takes a minute. 1 minute. I learned this when I did martial arts in my younger days. And it's really good. And it's really good for doing all sorts of things. You don't need to use it only when you need to break 6 pieces of ice, right? But it's also scientifically tested. There was a 2022 Johns Hopkins analysis that found that slow diaphragmatic breathing, that's the kind where your belly rises, not just your chest, that cuts down on inflammatory markers tied to chronic stress. Now you think about this, simply breathing differently reduces the physical toll stress on your body, right? This works by activating the vagus nerve, science that is, which essentially tells your nervous system, look, actually things are fine, you can relax, right? There's no saber-toothed tigers in the bushes, you're cool. It shifts you out of that constant fight or flight mode and into a state of rest and digest. And you can do it anywhere, anytime. You know, you can do it before you have your news app window, after a tricky phone call, you know, while your coffee's brewing or whatever. You know, link this habit to something you do daily, you know, brushing your teeth or waiting for the kettle to boil, sitting in traffic. You can combine it with the first tip. Instead of browsing your phone whilst waiting for the kettle to boil, do the breathing exercise. You know, by connecting to an existing routine, then it sticks with you, it becomes habit, rather than you having to think, oh, do I need to do the breathing? No, you always need to do the breathing. Do it several times a day. It's a very powerful, very portable tool to ground yourself, bring you back to the present moment, even if the world feels like it's spinning out of control. And what's really important about this to understand is we're much more in tune with our physical state than our mental state, right? So if we're physically uncomfortable, we instinctively adjust our seating position, standing position, laying down position, right? We frequently become uncomfortable in a particular position. We just move it. We know how to do that. Now, yeah, if you've got an injury, like if you've got a compound fracture of the leg, you're not going to make that discomfort go away by adjusting your position, right? And the same mentally, right? If you've got if you've got PTSD or depression, you need to go to the doctor. But if you're generally mentally fit, but you're just mentally uncomfortable, There are also ways to improve the comfort of our mental state. They're just not intuitive, right? Third one, anchor yourself locally. Create agency, basically. National politics often feels like it's a never-ending 24-hour soap opera that you have no control over. It is a script you can't direct. It's a drama where you're just a spectator. Your neighbourhood, however, that's a script you can write. That's your stage for meaningful action. The feeling of helplessness is a massive contributor to political stress. A feeling of agency, on the other hand, is incredibly empowering. When everything feels too big or too complex or too far away, it's very easy to become overwhelmed and disengaged, which is why focusing on your local community can really work. Like, you can pick one hyper-local action each week. It could be as simple as just dropping some cans off at the food bank, showing up for a park clean-up day, or just writing an email to your council about some persistent issue on your street. You know, these aren't grand world-saving gestures, but their impact is immediate and it's tangible. You have impacted something. You know, there was a study a few years ago, Journal of Community Psychology, which found that people who volunteered locally reported 34% lower perceived stress than a control group. Right? Why? Because action beats anxiety. Local wins are visible. The dickheads want you to feel helpless. Populists need you to believe that only they can fix your problems. The reality is none of them fix anyone's problems, unless the problem is that their bank accounts aren't fat enough, right? They want you to be passive. They want you to feel helpless and then to invest in them the power to do what they want. But this way you get to see the direct result of your effort, whether it's a cleaner street or food on someone's table, whatever visible improvement you make. You trade that soul-crushing feel of helplessness for the empowering feel of helpfulness. And that feeling can snowball very quickly. It builds resilience. It builds a sense of purpose that national headlines cannot then touch. Fourth one, build a buddy pact with someone who disagrees with you on a few things. Now, it's really easy to get caught in the trap of venting in echo chambers or endlessly arguing with strangers on the internet, trying to work out if they're a bot or just stupid, right? And they think the same of you. Both of these activities can be cathartic in the moment. Oh, don't get me wrong, I like to give a bit back now and then. But they actually spike your blood pressure and they leave you feeling more agitated, not less. They reinforce division. They don't really lead to any real understanding or resolution, do they? Instead, maybe try something different. Pick a friend or family member, someone you trust, but who disagrees with you on at least one political issue, right? And the key here is you trust each other. You've got that sense of mutual respect. You're going to both share the underlying goal of staying sane. You're both doing it for the same purpose. And you want to maintain a healthy relationship, even amidst disagreement. So you're going to agree to some ground rules. Facts only, right? From agreed sources. Not Dave on YouTube, right? Or even Phil on YouTube. Facts. Verifiable sources. That cuts through the noise and sensationalism. No name calling or personal attacks, right? You play the ball, not the man, right? Even though name calling can be fun, but you keep it about the issues, not the people. And then each person, right? They take it in turns, do it proper as a debate, not interrupting. I'm bad at that, I know. Take it in turns. And every time one person stops talking, the other one's going to start. The one who's about to start talking has to paraphrase what the other person just said to show, for their own sake, to show that they were listening. It forces you into active listening, not just nodding and smiling. Oh, it's my turn to talk. I'm going to rabbit on now about the thing I'd already decided I was going to say half an hour ago, right? So it forces you into active listening. It makes sure you actually understand their perspective, even if you don't share it. And that third one's really important. Remember, when you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. When you listen, you might learn something. Psychologists call it structured dialogue. I learned about it as a teacher for teaching discussion skills. It's very effective. It can cut emotional escalation by half because it lowers the perceived threat level of the conversation. You know, when you feel heard and respected, your body relaxes. That's what a lot of people want ultimately, isn't it? To be heard, that someone acknowledges them and their views. Not everyone necessarily wants you to agree with their views. They just want their views heard. Even if you don't change each other's minds, your body isn't left in a state of high alert. You're friends, right? You're building bridges. You're not building walls. You're fostering empathy and mutual respect. You know, and you could then, The scientific advice is to schedule these talks, by the way, during low caffeine hours. I don't have caffeine hours, so that you can have a nuanced, respectful political discussion. It's not always that easy on 3 cappuccinos, right? And this pact helps you cultivate supportive connections. Absolutely vital for mental well-being during turbulent times. Then the 5th step, tech bedtime. So here's a little equation for you. And we all know this, don't we? We all know this. Blue light plus outrage equals 2 a.m. racing thoughts, right? You know that feeling. You're lying in bed trying to sleep, but your mind is replaying headlines, arguments, anxieties from your phone. Brutal. The constant glow from our devices, especially in the evening, actively interferes with our body's natural sleep-wake cycle. In the natural world, at night time, there's no blue light, right? It's bouncing off the atmosphere into space. So when we have artificial blue light, that suppresses the production of melatonin, which is a hormone that says sleepy time. It's the stuff that cats produce at like a gallon an hour. So by scrolling right up until you close your eyes, you're essentially telling your brain, oh, we need to stay awake, it's still daytime, which leads to delayed sleep onset, poorer sleep quality, disrupted REM cycles, which are all crucial for memory consolidation and emotional regulation. Remember, there's a reason we need to sleep. It's not because as hunter-gatherers, we just got bored with hunter-gathering, right? We need to sleep for our brain's sake. So let's establish a firm boundary. You set an alarm an hour before you want to be asleep. When the alarm goes, your phone goes into like sleep, maybe even in another room if you need to. Put it away. I mean, the only reason it even needs to go to the bedroom with you is probably because it's your alarm these days. And if you don't need it for that, don't even take it to your bedroom. Replace that scrolling time with something calming and restorative. You could read a book. You could do some gentle stretching. You can jot down a quick few things to be hopeful about list. There's the National Sleep Foundation linked this little boundary to a 25% faster sleep onset and deeper, more restorative REM cycles. There's lots of science in this. You think about it, politics will still be there at dawn the next day, but you'll be facing it with a rested brain, and a rested brain makes infinitely better decisions. It handles stress more effectively, and it's more resilient. It's not just about sleep, it's about giving yourself the mental and emotional fuel you need to navigate a very complex and increasingly toxic world. So those are 5 properly scientifically researched methods proven to shield your mental health from the ravages of political trolls and pirates. You don't have to do all of them. You may find one is enough. It's like anything else in life. You try things out and you see what works. You give it a proper try, you do it properly, and then you reflect on it. Put yourself in a stronger position to take control of your life. Having to choose between staying informed and preserving your health isn't right. That's not the choice you should have to make. The problem with politics, it's almost exclusively populated by people who aren't scientists, so people don't know about this stuff. But science has a lot of answers, So try some of these things out. Let me know how you get on. Oh, and if you'd like to subscribe to the channel for mental health assaulting commentary to test your newfound superpowers, don't let me stop you. Thanks for listening, and until next time, I'll see you later.